Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight we're not meeting some mighty conqueror, or a great thinker, or even a noble king with a sense of purpose. Instead, we're meeting a man who was convinced, absolutely convinced, that he was made of glass. This was Charles VI of France. Born in 1368, crowned king at 11. He was called Charles the Beloved. Which sounds nice. Except life had other plans. Because Charles slowly earned another nickname, Charles the Mad. And his madness came with one particularly fragile obsession. He believed his body was literally made of glass. Not metaphorically fragile. Not delicate in spirit. No. He thought if someone touched him too suddenly, he might shatter into glittering shards on the floor. And this wasn't a passing phase. He lived like this for years. Imagine being king of France, robes, crown, feasts, armies, and refusing to let anyone near you because you feared they'd break you like a wineglass. Charles wrapped himself in reinforced clothing, sometimes even iron rods sewn into his garments, to protect himself. He wouldn't let people touch him. He wouldn't ride horses without extra padding. Courtiers had to bow and scrape while pretending this was perfectly fine. Yes, sire, of course you're transparent, absolutely, we'll all be very careful not to bump into you. And this happened at the worst possible time. France was already in chaos, the 100 Years' War dragging on, the English pressing at the borders. The kingdom desperately needed a strong leader. Instead, they got a paranoid monarch hiding in his room, trembling at the thought of breaking. But here's the thing. The glass delusion, as doctors later called it, wasn't unique to Charles. It became a strange little epidemic among Europe's elites in the late Middle Ages. Other nobles claimed they were glass too. Some thought their heads were glass, some thought their legs were, some even believed their entire bodies were hollow like bottles. No peasants are recorded with this delusion. It was apparently a luxury madness, reserved for the very privileged. Maybe stress, maybe guilt, maybe just too much time in cold stone castles with nothing but gloomy priests and political assassins for company. Charles, though, is the most famous. His reign was defined not by victories, but by breakdowns. Sometimes he flew into violent rages. Sometimes he refused to bathe or change clothes for months. And sometimes, he just sat perfectly still, convinced that even breathing too hard might crack him. France staggered on without him. Regents, uncles, his queen, and later his son tried to keep the government running. But the damage was done. The kingdom was fractured. The English advanced. And Charles sat in the middle of it all, fragile, paranoid, and pitted. When he died in 1422, people didn't remember him as the Beloved. They remembered him as the king who thought he was made of glass. And maybe that's fitting. Because in some ways, his delusion was the perfect symbol of late medieval monarchy, grand and glittering on the outside, but inside, fragile, brittle, and always at risk of shattering. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, remember Charles VI. The king who wrapped himself in blankets and iron rods, terrified of cracking. A man who ruled France, but couldn't rule his own mind. Strange, tragic, and just human enough to keep us curious. Good night.